They say some secrets are buried for a reason, but this photograph survived. In 1892, a forgotten town was consumed by a plague that didn't just kill. It watched, it remembered, it changed its victims into something inhuman. Golden faces, hollow eyes, shadows that move on their own. Tonight you'll witness the truth history tried to erase. Dare to look before it sees you. They say history remembers the ones who survive, but some moments are so dark, so forbidden, that history itself tries to erase them. In 1892, in a small snowbound town far from the civilized cities, a disease that the world thought had vanished quietly returned, a plague unlike anything recorded. They tried to photograph it, but no photograph can truly capture what was coming. Ethan, an archivist obsessed with forgotten epidemics, arrived at the abandoned sanatorium on the outskirts of the town, led by whispers of old documents, claiming that a single photograph captured the last living moments of the infected. The town locals had abandoned the area decades ago. Wooden houses sagged under years of ice, and the wind carried whispers of agony that no sane person could explain. Ethan stepped over broken fences, his boots crunching on frozen ground, and the gates creaked open as though inviting him into the nightmare he didn't yet understand. Inside, the corridors were dim, walls flaking with old paint, yet he could feel an unnatural cold press down, heavier than winter itself. The room smelled of dust and decay, but beneath it lingered a sickly, metallic scent, the unmistakable odor of something biological left to rot. He lit his lantern and slowly approached the first ward, where the documents had hinted the last photograph was taken. Shadows flickered unnaturally on the walls, moving against the rhythm of his steps. Ethan shivered. Something unseen was listening, something that remembered. Something alive beneath decades of dust. The first ward was a wreck. Rusted beds leaned against walls, drawers hung open, and old syringes and broken instruments were scattered like toys left by a careless child. On one bed lay the remains of a journal, pages yellowed and brittle, yet still legible. The plague never left. It sleeps. It watches, and it learns. Ethan turned the pages carefully. Each entry described patients transforming, not dying, not simply succumbing, but their flesh, their very faces slowly turning metallic, golden and inhuman. The last entries were hurried, smudged in ink, describing how the infected began to move in unison, like puppets guided by a single consciousness. And then, the photograph. He found it tucked beneath the journal, its edges curled. The image was nearly blank, but enough remained for the mind to see. A cot in the center of the room, a small figure lying on it, and behind, shadows stretching impossibly, crawling across walls and floors as if the air itself had taken shape. Ethan could feel the room grow colder, the lantern flicker, and a metallic taste fill his mouth. Something stirred behind him, not in the room. In the walls themselves, the walls groaned. Ethan turned slowly. A shadow moved independently of the light, bending unnaturally. He thought he saw a child, a pale figure, head tilting, listening to him. It didn't speak. It didn't move normally. Its skin shimmered faintly gold. He tried to step back, but the floor seemed to warp beneath his feet, every movement echoing like a drumbeat of inevitability. Clutched the photograph tightly, feeling its thin paper vibrate as if it were alive. He recalled the journal's words. The last photograph before the plague returned is never just a picture. It is a witness. A faint giggle echoed, high-pitched and hollow, not from any human throat. Ethan shivered, realizing that something in this building had grown, evolved. It was no longer simply an illness. It was intelligence, and it was aware of it. He pushed further into the building, finding a narrow staircase leading below the main wards. The steps creaked and shook as if warning him not to proceed. Yet he could not stop. At the bottom was a long corridor filled with sealed doors, each marked with dates and patient numbers. One door was different, its paint scratched as if someone or something had tried to claw its way out. Beyond it, the air was thick, almost viscous, carrying that metallic tang of decay and transformation. Ethan shone his lantern inside. The room was empty, save for a cot at the center and movement beneath it. Something shifted. Golden dust swirled faintly across the floor, rising like a mist. Creosote heart-pounding. Shadows began to crawl along the walls independently, coiling like living smoke. The photograph quivered in his hands as though reacting. The journal had been right. The plague had never left. And now it had learned to appear in forms that humans could see or fear. He found the second journal, detailing the final night of the original outbreak. The patients had been photographed for records. They looked normal. Until the next day. Faces vanished under golden masks forming naturally from the skin itself. Hands became stiff. Bodies glided silently, eyes hollow yet aware. Ethan read aloud, voice trembling. But do not look too closely. They remember you. They will recognize anyone who comes to see them. Suddenly, a creaking sound echoed from the far end of the hall. Something was moving. Slowly, smoothly, impossibly. Ethan froze. A small figure appeared. Child-sized metallic sheen over its face, no eyes, no mouth, only a featureless golden mask reflecting his lantern's light. The figure moved toward him, not walking, gliding. The journal slipped from his hands, pages fluttering as if catching an unseen wind. He ran. The building seemed alive now. Corridors twisted unnaturally. Doors that hadn't existed appeared. Shadows stretched and merged with the walls. Ethan's lantern illuminated fleeting shapes, figures bent at impossible angles, crawling across ceilings and dissolving into nothing. He stumbled into a hidden vent leading to an underground chamber, the final heart of the plague's origin. The chamber was vast, filled with hanging bodies, some twitching faintly, all masked in gold. At the center, a giant glass tank swirled with golden mist, the core of the plague itself. Ethan realized the disease was not just biological. It had become a living organism, capable of manipulating the world around it. On the walls, handprints appeared, child-sized, golden fresh despite decades. Ethan's breath caught as the golden mist thickened, responding to his presence. He glimpsed his reflection in the tank, not his own, but a golden masked figure mimicking his posture. The entity could reflect itself, observe him, anticipate him. Panic surged. The last photograph wasn't just a record, it had created the entity. Its existence depended on human attention. The chamber pulsed, alive, waiting. Ethan scrambled for the chain-sealed elevator shaft, intending escape. Behind him, giggles echoed from every angle. The golden figures emerged from shadows, silent, synchronized, moving with unnatural precision. Hanging bodies swayed with the rhythm of their own collective breathing. Ethan's lungs burned in the toxic air. He realized he could not run fast enough. The photograph in his pocket trembled violently. Pages of the journal spinning out, revealing a final cryptic note. Once seen, they will never forget you. He leapt into the shaft. Darkness surrounded him. The swirling mist below was growing, consuming the vent walls, forming appendages, grasping for him. Ethan's mind raced. Every sound, every flicker of light, every shadow could be the plague itself reaching for him. His heart hammered as the golden gas began to rise, pushing into the vent. He realized that the plague's evolution was complete. It could now move, hide, observe, and infect through presence alone. One misstep and it would follow him into the world above. The last photograph remained on the table in the abandoned sanatorium, now untouched by human hands for decades. History tried to forget it, but the photograph had power. It marked the return of something ancient and cunning. Oh. People who later discovered fragments of the building described seeing golden masked figures wandering the foggy streets, always watching, always waiting. Some say the plague waits for the next photograph to be taken, the next observer to notice it, the next story to bring it fully back into the world. And the photograph, the last photograph before the plague returned, remains, silent, patient, immortal. The lesson is clear: some things are not meant to be seen, and some things, once seen, never truly leave.